Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be sharing with you guys a tour of the Iris van Herpen exhibition here in Singapore, located at the Art Science Museum that I went to a couple months ago. And I'll be sharing some art of some of the pieces that were from the collection and also sharing with you guys a tour of the gallery itself as well. And first and foremost, I just want to put it out there that if you are in Singapore or you're visiting Singapore in the time frame, I think this exhibition is going to end sometime in August. I would highly recommend that you guys check it out because it is quite a well put together exhibition, and I feel like it not only will appeal to people like fashion designers or illustrators, but it will also appeal to the general public just because Iris's works are really captivating and it's just a joy to look at and also to appreciate. So that is why I would recommend that every of you guys check it out if you have the opportunity to. Prior to this, I've only been to one other fashion related exhibition, and that was the Dior Designer of Dreams in Tokyo back in 2021, and that one was alright. I did kind of enjoy it, but I felt like it was just a really different experience. I felt like this Iris van Herpen experience was way better. I think just because of the foot traffic, there were just a lot of things to look at and appreciate. A couple months ago, I actually went to the Art Science Museum for the Studio Ghibli exhibition with my friend. I felt like we really didn't explore the exhibition much just because there were so many people, almost too many people to properly appreciate. That's why I was initially a little surprised, just because there weren't that many people at all. Like at most at a time there were only 6 other people with me in like the entire space, and we all just have a little corner to ourselves to have like a one-on-one with the pieces, and it was really good. In this video, I'll be sketching some of the looks that I saw from the exhibition and also be sharing with you guys just a tour and also a little bit of thoughts surrounding it, I guess. So start off with like how I got to know Iris's works, and I was a fashion student, so I feel like almost every fashion student, and also if you browse the internet, you've probably came across her pieces before. They're really recognizable. I was doing a thesis that focuses like on the technological advancements in garments, and that was why I referenced this book slash exhibition from the Met, and it's the Manus Machina collection. I think that's how you say it. So basically they featured Iris's works in it just because she represents the machine technological advancements part of the exhibition, and they will like juxtapose it to the traditional hen techniques from couture. So it was a really interesting read, and I really recommend that you check it out if you're interested. It's also like in a book form, and that was my first kind of introduction to her works. And also I think just generally you do see her pieces shared online pretty often just for the way that she likes to use her materials as well as the silhouettes that she likes to create. And that was why I felt like this collection was very well put together, the curation of it, because I feel like her works all kind of share a very similar story or visual. That's why the exhibition kind of flows into one another and it doesn't feel disconnected at all as you're walking through the different parts of the gallery. There are a total of 11 sections of the exhibition, and my favorite ones were the skeletal embodiments as well as new nature. Those were in like a darker, dimmer setting. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it more. I really like settings like that. And there was this part of the exhibition that was really interesting, and it's the alchemic atelier part, and it just has walls pinned with fabric manipulations and like techniques that they experimented with. And I feel like it's really inspiring, especially for fashion students, because it reminded me of when I was doing my coursework. So it was just really interesting to see like the paper toiles and also just the type of techniques that Iris goes into, and like Iris and her team goes into to experiment to create a visual through the different, it could be like laser cutting or like heat setting. There were some that were recognizable and some that looked a little bit more high-end, and that made me really want to share some of my pieces with you guys. So I'll be sharing a little bit of textile manipulation from the time when I was still studying, and my theme basically revolved around the exploration between men and flowers. It's called duality, and just kind of aims to highlight the beauty of nature in being such a technical, like so technical in its make, but it's also such an organic thing. And the artist that I referenced was Makoto Murayama, and he kind of maps out these dissections of florals in Photoshop in different layers, and that just kind of inspired my process as well. And that was why like I use like multiple layers of tulle or like different silk fabrics in different weights and opacity to kind of create that layer effect, and each layer has a different print, and that print is also quite a, I feel like it embodies what I'm trying to bring across, which is a hand technique that is an organic and traditional method of printing. The result of it is very technical, but when you look closely, there are these small little things that make it imperfect, and that's just so beautiful. That's kind of what nature is. The technique is just to dip a string or like a rope in ink, and then you sandwich it between the fabric, put weight on your palms, and you can vary the weight as well if you want a different kind of print. It impacts it differently, and then you just pull the string and it creates these very, I feel like they look really floral and also a little bit like anatomy. From afar they kind of look symmetrical, but when you look closely you'll see that there are imperfections in the printing just because it's such a natural way of printing, I guess. So it's not computerized or anything, but it does look computerized, and I feel like that is what, you know, that I'm exploring. So I just thought that it would be great to share with you guys a little bit more about what I used to do in school. I just thought it would be fun to add it in because that, like when I was going through the exhibition, that really reminded me of my own. That part of the exhibition really made me reminisce about my own works, and that is why it's so inspirational. I feel it also informs you as a designer or like an artist of the varying methods and fabric manipulations that you can do to add interest into your own work. Now let's move on to my favorite sections of the exhibition, which I mentioned, which is the skeletal embodiments. Because it's so quiet, you can actually hear the soundtrack that's playing at the back, and it's like bones or fossils clanking on top of one another, and it just adds to the whole atmosphere of the exhibition, and it makes it very, very immersive. So that is really nice, as well as you're looking at the pieces. You know, the soundtrack is just at the back, and if there's a really big crowd, I feel like if there's a lot of talking, you don't get to hear that. So I'll read out all 11 sections of the exhibition. The first one is Water and Dreams, and that just starts immediately when the lift door opens, and then it was Sensory Sea Life, then Cabinet of Curiosities, then Forces Behind the Forms, Skeletal Embodiment, followed by Synesthesia, Alchemic Atelier, Growth Systems, Mythology of Fear, New Nature, and Cosmic Bloom. And I remember there was this picture that I really loved. It was positioned along the exit of the gallery, and I really liked that image. That image really stuck with me. I also mentioned loving New Nature. I just love the silhouettes in that particular part, and also the gilded feathers that were above the sculpture, and it was just moving gently. I feel like Iris really loves introducing kinetic movement into her pieces, which is a little bit rarer in garments, and it just adds a lot of interest and movement into a piece. So the image that I really love was of this model that was standing in front of what seems to be a nuclear reactor, but when I went online and searched, it seems to be, it's called the Large Hadron Collider, and it's not like a nuclear energy facility, so I guess I was a little bit wrong on that. But when I first saw it, I thought it was a nuclear plant, and I really like pictures like that because I love humans juxtaposed on really big infrastructure, especially ones that kind of depict man's creation and destruction, because I do love dystopian themes as well, so I like exploring ideas like that. They do give you a booklet, which is the exhibition guide, and it's actually quite nice to have something like that. So it just breaks down the 11 sections of the exhibition, just like the titles, the themes, and also a short introduction, and at the back there's just a little bit of a background information of the designer. Overall, my experience was wonderful. I think I would give it a 10 out of 10 just because I felt like everything was perfect. So the exhibition itself was very well curated. I felt like they brought in a lot of things. So you get to see like an extensive collection of her works and also her processes like the toiles as well as the fabric manipulations and exploration that I mentioned at the Alchemic Atelier. The flow throughout the exhibition was great as well. They would bring in artists' works of a similar aesthetic or just something that feeds into her body of work, and it just helps to keep the collection more cohesive and well informed. For example, they would bring in skeletal remains and fossils. That helps to just tie in the understanding of the theme because you get to see the direct translation of the inspiration and also the final work. The biggest takeaway was probably being able to see the pieces in real life because it makes a pretty big difference. I've only ever seen her works in like runway videos and photos, and you don't get to scrutinize on the details. For example, there was this piece that has this glass organza applique on it, and when you look at it closely, you'll see like this very thin fishing thread or lines that just hold every one of them in place, properly distanced from one another, and from afar you actually cannot tell at all. So there are these little details that make up the work, and these are details that you won't know about unless you're there to view it in person or you get to hear someone's visual recount of them going in depth of the garment. So since I design clothes as well, I was there to also look at garment construction as well as how the finishes are made because I feel like these things keep me more informed of the methods that I have for my own garments, essentially. And last but not least, what made this a great experience was also the crowd. And since there weren't that many people, I really had a lot of time with the pieces myself, and I didn't feel like I was blocking anybody's view at all. And I went at around 11 a.m., so maybe that is a good time to go. I am not sure about how it is now, but when I was there, it was perfect. And then right after, I took about 2 hours at this exhibition, and then I just had lunch. It was just, you know, a really good arrangement. So I guess that's kind of it for today's video. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it and found it a bit more interesting than my usual videos because it's usually just me in my studio, but I felt like this time around I wanted to share with you guys an exhibition that I went to and something around Singapore. So that's it, and I'll see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye!